And as we wait for tomorrow's memorial service in Minneapolis to honor George Floyd, the Washington Post has created a timeline of events leading up to his death on May 25th. Using security footage, cell phone videos, and emergency services recordings, they were able to piece together how the events unfolded. Dalton Bennett is an investigative reporter for the Washington Post, and he joins me now. Welcome, Dalton. Thank you so much for being with us. First off, what did you learn from creating this timeline of events, and what did this reveal about Floyd's final minutes?
Well, from putting together this timeline of events, we used security footage and footage taken by bystanders that were in the area nearby. And what it was able to reveal is there's quite a buildup. There's a long series of events that led up to the arrival of the Minneapolis Police Department. So what we saw is that Floyd was in the area 15, 20 minutes before the arrival of the police themselves. We saw an interaction that had taken place inside of the store where at the nearby Cup Foods, apparently Mr. Floyd allegedly, along with another gentleman, tried to use counterfeit currency. Now, they were confronted by the shop owners. The shop owners come out. They didn't have success in speaking with them. And then by 8:01 p.m., we saw that the Minneapolis Police Department was called to the scene. And by 8:08, police were at the scene themselves. What we see in the video from putting together, using all of these different sources, is that over a course of 15 minutes, we see the arrival of the police. There's a confrontation that takes place, a discussion that takes place between Floyd and two officers. He's immediately put in handcuffs, and then he's taken to right in front of a security camera that is at a restaurant adjacent to the Cup Foods. From there, what ends up happening is he's brought across the street to a police cruiser. He's in handcuffs at this point, completely under control of the officers. Some sort of scuffle takes place, and then more Minnesota police officers arrive on the scene. And within minutes from there, Floyd is on the ground. And from there, unfortunately, his life, he does have a knee that's placed on his neck, and that's where we see this infamous viral footage take place that was filmed by bystanders that were nearby.
So, Dalton, how important is it to have a timeline of events laid out in a story like this?
So with all these sorts of events, different stories take place, right? So we only knew at the time period when this first came out what we saw from the viral footage. So a lot of people that we spoke with initially, they believed that, hey, this entire altercation and this entire incident took place in front of this convenience store. And by us actually tracking down the footage, so that morning, Tuesday morning, the day after Mr. Floyd was killed, we were able to contact the business owners and were able to preserve the footage and get a hold of the security footage before the authorities, before the police, before the FBI were able to actually get their hands on this footage. From there, we're able to build out a narrative of exactly what happened. So in order to figure out, who could have been responsible for Mr. Floyd's death, how that played out, what factors might have contributed to his death, the best way for us to do that is by using evidence that like CCTV footage or video that was taken by bystanders in the area that would have saw the actions of the police. Now, in a moment like this, there's a lot of rumor and there's a lot of speculation. And what we're trying to do is to bring clarity and really provide a succinct narrative of exactly what happened step by step in order to better inform the public. I mean, it was driven by public service at that point and really getting across exactly what unfolded that day and how the actions of specific officers led to the death of George Floyd.
Well, there's no doubt that the presence of video had a huge impact on this case. This is obviously not the first time an unarmed black man has been killed by the police, but this video was so chilling, and I think partially because the demeanor of the police officer, Officer Chauvin, who had his knee on Floyd's neck, he was so relaxed and so calm about it. He didn't seem as if he were distressed or worried that Floyd, or at that moment, the person he would call a suspect, seemed to be resisting arrest at all, at least at the moment of the video that we'd seen. So from what you've pieced together, was there ever a moment where it was obvious that there were moments of resisting arrest or not?
Certainly throughout the timeline that we're able to put together, there are moments where Mr. Floyd appears to be non-compliant with the police officers, but I would caveat that by saying he's in handcuffs the entire time. Time goes by in these different moments where they're clearly in control of Mr. Floyd. Now, unfortunately, we don't have a full 360 view of what happened. Part of the interaction where we see Mr. Floyd ending up on the ground, that is obscured by the position of a squad car, but we do have footage that is taken seconds afterwards. And what we can see clearly is that Mr. Floyd is the ground, stomach down, and that we have at least one officer, Officer Chauvin, with his knee on Floyd. And additionally, we have two other officers that are crouched nearby, and another officer, Officer Dow, pointed toward Floyd. Now, it is clear at that point that he's subdued and that they're in control of him. So from that moment, Officer Chauvin's knee remained on George Floyd's neck for 8 minutes and 46 seconds. 5 minutes into that 8 minutes and 46 seconds, George Floyd is completely unresponsive.
Dalton Bennett of the Washington Post, thank you so much for piecing that together for us and sharing your reporting. Thank you so much.
Thank you.